Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, public hearing for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, if the secretary could read the public notice.
To be published in the Journal Enquirer, Thursday, April 29th, 2021, and Thursday, May 6th, 2021, South Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that there will be a public hearing on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. held by way of an online WebEx conference meeting to consider the following. 1. Application 21-11P, REESG Nuco South Windsor, LLC, request for zone change from general commercial zone to Sullivan Avenue mixed-use development overlay zone of 19 plus or minus acres and general plan of development for the renovation of 60,740 square foot of commercial space and the development of 125 apartment units on property known as Sullivan Avenue Plaza, located at 959, 1017, and 1079 Sullivan Avenue, GC zone. Also continued, that was continued from April 27th, 2021. Number 2, application 21-20P, Evergreen Walk Lifestyle Center, LLC, request to modify the Evergreen Walk general plan of development for the realignment of Evergreen Way to accommodate a new 50,000 square foot retail building, replacing the existing 53,000 square feet of retail known as Units 500 B, C, and D on property located at 151 Buckland Road, Buckland Gateway Development Zone. To view this meeting, please tune into channel 16 if your provider is Cox Cable, or go to gmedia.swagit.com/live. To call in with comments to this meeting, please call the WebEx conference call-in number 855-925-2801. The meeting code is. Copies of this application are on file in the office of the town clerk and the planning department and online at www.southwindsor-ct.gov/planning department/pages/planning and zoning commission-applications. At this hearing, interested parties may be heard by calling into the meeting, and written comments by the public will be received by mail or email to planningzoningcomments@southwindsor-ct.gov. Persons who may require an accommodation can contact staff Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at 860-644-2511, extension 329. Bart Pasiconis, Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much. This Planning and Zoning, of course, is a virtual meeting. This meeting is being live streamed through a WebEx conference call on the town website, as well as local channels, and will be operating under the following procedures. The session is being audio recorded and video recorded. To ensure sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be keeping video of themselves on throughout the meeting. Applicants should feel free to leave their video on or off. However, they will be asked to turn on their video when speaking. The public can provide public comments by email and or phone. The email address and phone number with the meeting code can be found on the front of the agenda. During public meetings, all the normal rules, including stating and now spelling your name, still apply. If you are speaking at this meeting and have an exhibit to submit to the commission, which has not been distributed in advance of the meeting with the rest of the materials, please indicate that you wish to submit an exhibit. You will need to hold it up to the camera so that the commission and all the members of the public may review it. In addition, you will be required to email the exhibit or take a photograph of it and email it to planningzoningcomments@southwindsor.org, and it will be included in the permanent record of the commission. Members of the public may only speak during public participation for an item not on the agenda and during the public hearing comment period. Lastly, a reminder to the public on the phone to press *3 to indicate that you want to speak, and the pound sign to get back to the main menu. We've got a little housekeeping tonight, as we have, two commissioners missing. So for Commissioner Foley, we'll seek Commissioner Bernstein, and for Commissioner Greer, we'll seek Commissioner LeBlanc. Okay, let's see. Public participation. We're doing our meeting a little bit different tonight. We've got a couple applications we're going to try and take care of before we get into the public hearing. So the first thing on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on something that is not on our agenda? Now would be the time to call in, raise your hand, or shoot up a flare or something. Okay, thank you very much. Then at this time, we'll move into our new business. First, we have application 21-09P Baylor Brothers, Inc. Request for a 2-year temporary and conditional permit. Do we have someone here to represent the applicant?
Yes, I am here. Tom Baylor.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. If you could, present your application.
Looking to,
Hey, there you are.
yeah, sorry, just me and technology. Looking for a 2-year temporary and conditional permit on our 30 by 60 tent that has been on our property for some time. It was originally under Superior Products, Superior Northeast, but they no longer need it or want it, so we would like to keep it. And so the thought is, or the reason why is, we've actually, it's been very helpful, didn't really realize this, but during COVID, we've actually split up our different divisions, and our landscape division works actually out of that, which helps with not having people being so close together. But it is a great need for us to keep our products dry. We've got in the landscaping side of our business, we've got grass seed, we've got hay rolls or hay blankets, some small equipment that needs to stay out of the rain, and also the some other small equipment that we need to keep under cover. So would really appreciate if we could continue to have that privilege, and seeing if you would allow it. Like I said, I think it's been there, boy, I don't know, Superior Northeasters, maybe, I'm not sure who has the history on that, but it's probably been on our property for, probably 8 years, maybe, I'm guessing. But so it's something that's been there. It's just I'm just the new applicant for it.
Yeah, I see the original permit was issued August 2002. Does that complete your presentation?
It does.
Okay, then at this time, we'll turn to our town staff, our Director of Planning, Michelle Light.
Thank you. So this is a request to renew the 2-year permit that Superior Northeast had in place for many years. It actually goes back to August of 2002, and this is a property located at 24 Jeffrey Drive, Industrial Zone. It is a white storage tent, 30 by 60, and it is located within the front yard setback. That's why it does not comply with zoning and the need for the temporary conditional permit. The building code does limit the duration of temporary structures. In the past, Superior Northeast would consult with the building department, and we'd recommend the same thing to ensure that it stays current with any building permitting that is necessary. The regulation states temporary and conditional permits may be granted by the commission for use The public convenience and welfare will be substantially served, and the appropriate use of neighborhood property will not be substantially or permanently injured, and traffic and other hazards will not result from such use. We have had no concerns or complaints related to this application. Thank you.
Excuse me, commissioners, could you turn your microphones off if not speaking? Because I'm getting a lot of double and triple of Michelle. I'm sorry, Michelle. Does that complete your report?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the town engineer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no comments on this application.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions, comments, concerns? I'll start with Commissioner Wagner.
I have no comments. I'm glad to see one of the great South Windsor businesses doing well enough to need a little extra space.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Flagg.
I have no comments. I'm glad to see that they're doing well and they can use the additional space. And I wish them a lot of good luck.
Okay, Commissioner Dexter.
Same as everybody else is saying. I don't see any problem with the renewal. Best of luck.
Okay, Commissioner Bonzani.
Agreed. I'm glad to see a local business doing well, and I like the fact, like you said, that they're splitting up the business a little bit for more room with this COVID crazy times we are. But no comments.
Commissioner Bernstein.
Yeah, Tom, just one thing I'm curious about. So with the weather getting more and more severe, do you have any concerns about a severe storm doing harm to that tent?
I don't know. It's been through, like I said, it's been there since 2002. Well, I hope we don't get anything like they get in the Midwest where it actually takes off. But no, it's actually been a great. It's a pretty heavy duty. It's got like 2-inch pipe, as a framework for it. And actually, I say that 3-inch. Sorry, 3-inch pipe work, and it's a really durable tent on that. So no, it's been excellent.
Yeah, it's held up for 20 years, so it probably has a lot more years in it. Just we hear about 100-year storms every 10 years and 10-year storms every year. So just I guess something to keep an eye on. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
That's all for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and Commissioner LeBlanc.
Thank you. I think this is great. I'm all for extending the 2-year provision there. The only question I have is more in line with Commissioner Bernstein. I've dealt with these temporary structures during my day job, and what happens with these things over time, at least where I work, is that sometimes the apparatus becomes loose over time. It's more of a safety thing. I'm just looking out for the well-being of everybody there. They tend to rattle loose sometimes with time, and we've had a few collapses in a couple of areas in the state. And it's a membrane structure, right, Tom?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Have you had any issues with snow sticking to it in the wintertime and having a buildup? I know when you first put these things up, the snow tends to slide off of them, but with time, with UVs, more or less gets rid of the sheen on those things, and snow tends to stick to them. And we've had a couple of disastrous collapses, actually, up in Winstead and one down in Wallingford, really because of snow and wind. And thankfully nobody was there, but it's just one of those concerns I have with these temporary structures, because 2 years became 20 for us too, and that's what we ended up with. And we found that maintaining them and at least tightening the there's cross bracing inside. Yeah, make sure the cables are tight, and that way it'll serve you well for years to come. Only concern for you.
Okay, and we will do that. I'll check that out.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, I just have a couple of concerns. The actual membrane is getting to the end of its usable life. I went over, took a look at it today. You've got like a 2-foot rip in each corner area of the membrane. I'm just wondering what your plan is. Of course, you're going to do something with that to fix it. We're not looking to have something start flapping in the wind.
Right.
And what your plan is. Usually a 2-year temporary and conditional is just that. It's supposed to be temporary and conditional. I just want to know what your plan is. How long do you foresee having it out there?
Well, I'd have 2 thoughts on that. One, if it's hard and I shouldn't really be doing this every couple of years, then maybe we wouldn't maybe do much and dismantle it after a couple of years and be done with it. On the other hand, if it looks like I know we're a back lot there, so I know it's Jeffrey Road is just a little short road off of Pleasant Valley, and you don't really even see it behind the big building that's in front of us. But if you think it could be something I could renew, and say, hey, I know it's temporary, we would buy a new membrane. I've actually looked into pricing it, and we would just buy a new canvas new cover. It's not canvas, it's actually, and we would do that. If my hard thing would be is if all of a sudden in 2 years you just really say, we'd like to really see that thing be removed. If it's something you think that could be, that just keep coming and making sure I keep applying, then I would certainly, we even talked about just seeing how this meeting went and then put a whole new cover on it, just because it's been a good length of time.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw that out there for your discussion. I'm inclined to side with the rest of the commissioners and, give you the 2-year, 2 temporary and conditional, and then we can talk about it more. You'll have a better understanding of the pluses and minuses of it. There is one thing I noticed on the end of it. You currently have about a 20-foot banner advertising the previous company that is no longer there or no longer located in South Windsor. So, I don't know how you feel about taking that down.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Other than that,
it's on the million list, of everything to do. But yes, absolutely.
Fair enough.
Good.
Okay. Commissioners, we can move this along right now. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve application 21-09P, Baylor Brothers temporary and conditional permit for a storage tent. This is a temporary and conditional permit which will expire on April 27th, 2023. Will have to be renewed at that time if the use is to continue, and a new building permit is required to renew the temporary structure.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you, everybody,
Okay.
very much. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Okay, our next item is application 21-13P, distinctive tree care. Do we have an applicant here to present?
Yeah, we should have, Jason Yerke is here. Trying to get to my list, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Glenn Martin, I believe, is here representing the applicant.
yep. And commissioners, we've got about 11 minutes until our public hearing starts. So and we've got 2 applications. So if we could do our best to move it along. Okay, is Jason going to be starting off or is he in?
Sorry, members of the commission. Nope, I'm Jason with Design Professionals. I'll be starting off on behalf of Jason.
Okay. Have
Yeah.
at
Are
it.
we missing, Daniel, are we missing anybody else? I can't see the list.
Nope, just Jason, Glenn, and myself are the only presenters for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
No problem,
Okay.
Michelle. All righty. Well, thank you for members of the commission for having us. For the record, again, my name is Daniel Jameson. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut and project manager at DPI. And we are here on behalf of Jason Yerke, owner of Distinctive Tree Care of 595 and owner of 595 Nutmeg Road North, the subject property. Would I be able to share my screen?
Please make that so.
Thank you. All right. And now we all seeing the exhibit?
Yep.
All right, beautiful. So, here with me also is Glenn Martin, a registered landscape architect of DPI, to present the landscaping and plantings. And just for the record, we also submitted an application for the abutting property to the south on 591 Nutmeg Road North, scheduled to be agenda item number 3. While this application is for the proposed changes to 595 Nutmeg Road North, we will be discussing some of the interactions between the two. And just wanted to state that for the record, Jason Yerke is the owner of both parcels, and the two will work together. But for 595, the proposed site includes construction of a new 7,200 square foot storage building, access drive extensions, storage areas, stormwater management improvements, and associated utilities on a portion of the land of on South Satellite Road, located in the industrial zone. The 13,955 square foot building that you see there, lot 1, was originally approved back in 2014, and then had a 5-year extension approved back in February of 2019. This was an old plan and as a site plan modification. So the largest differences to the old plan in comparison to this one is the addition of the second building, the phase 2 building, the 7,200 square foot storage building, and then the connection drive to 591 Nutmeg Road North. Jason plans on using both properties together for storage and parking needs. For stormwater management, we plan on using the main existing wetlands depression as the main detention basin feature for the site, as originally proposed. 3 stilling basins and an infiltration swell are also proposed to provide further stormwater storage and attenuation, and also provide water quality. The water quality volumes for each basin was sized based off of the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual recommendations. Also on site are an existing subsurface catchment system comprised of 4 existing catch basins to remain. The top of the frames will be increased to match the final proposed grades, but the underground conduit structures will remain in place. And we are proposing to treat all waters collected from these existing catch basins and 3 proposed new catch basins to collect water from lot 2 and the connection drive with a hydrodynamic separator. And these hydrodynamic separators were selected based off of their ability to treat the water quality flow rate for the areas draining to them. And the water quality flow rate was also determined based on recommendations made in the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual. For erosion controls, we have proposed silt fencing, wood chip gabion baskets, catch basin inlet protection, access tracking pads, soil stockpile areas, diversion swells, and temporary siltation traps to prevent the spread of sediments off-site. All of these erosion and sedimentation control measures were designed based off of the 2002 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sedimentation control. We have received town engineer comments and provided a response. We are more than happy to continue working with town staff to continue addressing all of these comments as needed. We ask that if the commission finds the information presented tonight acceptable, that we be allowed to work with town staff to satisfy these comments as a condition of approval. It is our opinion that the plans as presented conforms to all planning or to all dimensional zoning requirements. And with that, I will turn it over to Glenn to discuss landscaping and site lighting.
Okay, I just want to make you
Sorry,
aware
Bart.
I just want to make you aware we have a public hearing starting at 7:30.
10-4.
So at that time, I'll have to interrupt you and we'll have to go into that and address the rest later.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, gonna be quick.
Thank you, Daniel. For trees, we have, trees have been located in the parking lot islands as required by town regulations in both parking lots in the north and the south. The landscape islands are greater than 10% of the parking areas, and one tree is located in each island. An evergreen screen planting is also proposed along the northern property line to screen the adjacent property in this area. This screen is not required per regulations since the adjacent land use is also industrial, but it is a nice feature the client would like to have there. Also, a continuous berm along Nutmeg Road will be located here. As a mix of evergreen flowering shrubs, ornamental grasses, and flowering trees. This will create an attractive edge along the property. There are also plantings proposed in the wetland mitigation area at the rear of the property. For lighting, the lighting plan proposes modern LED light fixtures on 20-foot high foot poles in the parking areas and along the driveways. Wall lighting packs will also be on the buildings. Proposed lighting will provide safe light levels in the parking areas, driveways, and sidewalks. All fixtures are full cutoff fixtures. In conclusion, it is our opinion that we have met the zoning requirements with this development while providing for the needs of our client. Are there any questions?
We'll just cut questions later.
Okay.
Okay, does that complete your presentation at this time?
Yes.
Okay, then
Thank you.
at this time, and commissioners, I want to make you aware, our act by date is May 13th on this, so we should try and act on this sometime tonight. At this time, I'll turn to our Director of Planning, Michelle Light.
Thank you. So I'm going to address 591 first. This is a request for a site plan modification to add a 7,200 square foot building to the rear of the existing site, as well as some employee parking in the front of the building that is currently under construction. This is shown as phase 2 on property known as 595 Nutmeg Road in the industrial zone. They will continue to have the single access drive off of Nutmeg Road. However, they are proposing an interconnection to the property to the south at 591 Nutmeg Road, owned by the same owner. However, they are separate lots. The original plan of 595 did call for outdoor storage areas proposed to the rear of the building, and it's also equipment storage in bins in the rear of the building. So that area has been cleared and used as an operations yard for construction materials. This new building is within that area, and it will be for the storage of vehicles. The building has doors on both sides of the building for vehicles to be able to move forward through it. With the addition of this building, the impervious coverage is proposed to be 53%. We allow up to 65%. The proposed parking requirement is 50 spaces. They're providing 38 on this site, and they're proposing additional 12 spaces on the site at 591 Nutmeg Road. We would require, since these will be separately owned, that there's some kind of easement or agreement with 591 to accommodate the parking. We'd also look for a cross-travel easement to be put into place. Other improvements mentioned include lighting 20-foot high poles, as well as building-mounted lights. There are regulated wetlands that affect both lots. They did receive wetlands approval on April 7th. There's some existing bonds in place that they're going to require to be maintained, as well as an additional $5,000 bond for wetlands mitigation area. We do hold that bond for 3 growing seasons to ensure that that area does get properly established. As mentioned, the proposed storage building will have vehicles that can drive through it. Design review did review the site on January 9th, and we're satisfied with the proposal as presented. The site will be serviced by public water and sewer. WPC approval is not required for the storage building. The fire marshal has reviewed the plans and has no comments. Signage is proposed to meet the zoning requirements for both freestanding and building signs in the industrial zone. This application is approved. The town staff has no additional comments request.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll turn to our town engineer, Jeff Doolittle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, few comments on this application. They didn't show any utilities for this building, so I inquired about that. And the response was they will add electric service to that building. There is a gas tank and pump shown on the north side of that building. I asked about a canopy. They said they're still designing that. It's not a requirement, but I know some places have that. I asked about a gate between this lot and the lot in the front, 591, and they said they will add a gate, and then asked that there be a handicap ramp or an accessible ramp at the end of the sidewalk between those two lots as well, and they said they would do that. That's all my comments.
Okay, great. At this time, we really need to start our public hearing. I don't think we can do our commissioners' questions at this time. So we'll have to take that up later in our meeting.
All right.
Okay.
We'll stick around.
And I apologize to the applicant. I wish we could have gotten it done quicker. So at this time, we'll go into our public hearing for the Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Our first item is application 21-11P, Newco South Windsor LLC. Can we let the applicant in, please?
Michael, that would be Ben Wheeler, I believe Don Poland, Greg Nanny, Peter Donnelly, Tim Wentz, Plessy Brown. Am I missing anybody? Robert Rybeck?
About David Wagner.
David Wagner, yeah.
Thank you very much. Chairman Pasiconis, good evening. Nice to see you again. Peter Donnelly for the applicant. We'd like to, fine, thank you. We'd like to take an opportunity just to update you on some topics that were raised last time and also on something we presented in the interim, if we may. And that will be a relatively short presentation, but the entire design team and clients are available for any questions, should you have any, as we go forward. We'd like to address some comments we have based on the PZC and staff comments and the also comments from the public at the last hearing, if we may.
And we do have some more letters to read into the record. So by all means, start and we can, once you're complete, we'll read the letters into the record.
Thank you very much, Chairman Pasiconis and members of the commission. And I see we have a good, 7-member turnout tonight. So for your information, since the last hearing, we submitted an exhibit depicting area sidewalks and also a series of pictures depicting our Sullivan Avenue frontage and frontage along Strawberry Fields. That's their frontage along Sullivan Avenue as well. So we submitted that for record. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Hopefully all of you had the time to take a look at that. Second thing is, it was brought up about the trail to Major Donnelly Land Preserve. And last week, I just want to report to you that last week, Benjamin Wheeler and I walked a possible trail corridor through the woods out to the existing trail system with Jeffrey Folger, the town's environmental planner, who is also staff to the Inland Wetlands Agency, which will have direct bearing on whether or not we do a trail system connection to expand this the existing trail system to a possible connection point at the southwest corner, excuse me, of the Sullivan Avenue Plaza. So this type of application or improvement requires many different approvals from many different boards and commissions way beyond the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we have not made a final decision on that. We're looking at many different factors, including costs, what would be involved with it, the approval process. It's a town park. We'd have to get approval from the town council. It involves significant amount of wetlands. although their boardwalk system that they've evolved over time with ADS pipe and pressure treated lumber and maybe even Trex type flooring panels, that certainly is to be commended. It works quite well, but we do not have an exact quarter at this time. We have to evaluate that with our clients, other members of the design team, and also with town staff. And this would be something that if we choose to pursue it, we'll pursue it first with other boards and commissions before it gets to you. If you choose to approve our application tonight or at a future meeting, this would be something at the site plan special exception stage. And at that point, would have gone through, if we're pursuing it, already gone through wetlands and also the town to see if it's possible to allow us to expand that trail system to Geisler's Plaza, to the Sullivan Avenue Plaza. So we're exploring that. We have not ruled it out, but we don't have enough information at this time to commit to it. But we will be presenting to you in greater detail if and when we get to the site plan and special exception phase. With respect to the suggestion to rotate building A, again, we're going building A is the westerly most building. Building B is the 36 unit building adjacent to that. Building C is the 41 unit building in the middle. And building D is the easterly most building at the southeast corner of the site. So there's a suggestion to possibly rotate building A, try to move it farther away from the commercial parking lot serving the plaza itself. Basically, so rotate it 90 degrees. We've evaluated this and we believe that the current orientation is the best orientation, especially insofar as the individual unit balconies are at present with a better orientation for privacy for the unit inhabitants, with them facing to the side, rather than facing Sullivan Avenue and the general commercial parking area. So that's their balconies would be facing to the side, which are more landscaped. To the east is their entrance and the residential community. To the west is a substantial landscaped area. And then also to the east side is their front entrance door within the residential community. If we had to reorient it 90 degrees, the entrance would be at the commercial parking lot, and the balconies and patios would be adjacent on the north side, adjacent to Sullivan Avenue, on the south side, facing out toward the parking lot. We'd rather have it more residentially oriented as we have it today. And that's why we would like to keep it the way we have it portrayed on the general plan of development. Skip over a couple in view of time. We've already discussed those in the two prior hearings, so I'll skip over those. Next thing is at the suggestion of Chairman Pasiconis, that we look at the potentially installing a new section of sidewalk along our frontage on Sullivan Avenue from our site entrance drive to our common parking lot with Strawberry Field, property line, excuse me, common property line with Strawberry Fields. That's 1,360 lineal feet of new sidewalk if we were to pursue it. Some factors here. That requires a cross section that's from the back of the curb. So if you're on Sullivan Avenue looking toward our site, from the back of the curb along Route 194, there'd be an 8-foot snow shelf. And that's the same as Condat is requiring I believe it's a Valvoline that's being proposed next to the car wash and next to Vince Pristilio's building. So that's an 8-foot snow shelf as per DOT requirements. Then it would be a 5-foot concrete sidewalk per your new Planning and Zoning Commission policy, going from 4-foot to 5-foot widths, a little bit wider, easier to walk on. And then a 2-foot shelf next to that. You have to have something next to it. And then we drop down at a 2-to-1 slope, which is quite pronounced slope. It's a steep slope. You don't normally walk on that. Down to either a retaining wall or to the toe of the slope. Quite a distance down, quite a drop. The 2-to-1 slope will also, as it will go down to retaining walls by buildings B and D. We portray those generally in the same location. They may be a little bit more extensive because of this work, probably a little bit longer, but by buildings B, that's a 36-unit building, and building D, another 36-unit building, in relatively close proximity to them. Those walls, the one by building B, would go up to 18 feet in height, the retaining wall, in order to accommodate just a 2-to-1 slope. That's quite high. And this is a cursory evaluation we've looked at today, and all our staff design team. And also the other one by building D would be 15 feet in height, and that's adjacent to the northeast corner of Building D. So they'll be significantly higher than what they are today, and that's at appreciable cost. So it adds a lot, just that alone. Another point is that all but 90 feet of the 1,360 lineal feet of this new sidewalk from our driveway to the Strawberry Fields property line has a Connecticut DOT guide rail. When this whole section was, except for just beyond our signalized intersection, the state redid that highway within the last 10 years. It's in very good condition. When they did that, they installed all but 90 feet of this 1,360 feet has a guide rail on it. The reason for the guide rail is because it's steep slopes adjacent to it on the other side of the guide rail. So it reflects these steep slopes for the motoring public. And often those steep slopes start right at the, just behind the guide rail, and they start dropping down right away. Significant pronounced drop in grade. We will lose, if we do this sidewalk, we'll also lose, we're saving some specimen trees in the vicinity of the Building A and also the Key Bank area, that general area. We're allowed to do it. There's some gentler slopes in that area. There's some nice specimen trees, some of the nicest trees on the property. We were able to save those with our current general plan. We'll lose additional specimen trees by Building A if we do this sidewalk. We'll be filling in around the roots and stuff, and we won't be able to do it, even with retaining walls. Also, at the top of the all the retaining walls will have to have a fence. It's required by the building code for safety purposes. You can't have somebody fall down, a drop from a wall, a high wall. And of course, given that they're going to be, two of them are approximately 18 feet and 15 feet in height, that's really high. And then we'll also have to have, and we're considering both fences to be ornamental type fences as opposed to chain link fence. So the fence required at the top of the 2-to-1 slope would be required because we're going to have people walking along there. And you know, you could have somebody lose their balance or walk off the sidewalk a little bit, maybe riding a bicycle, what have you, and they could go down a steep 2-to-1 slope. They could go end over end all the way down to the bottom, where they hit the fence at the top of the guide rail, or they go all the way down the toe of slope. That's dangerous. So we would have about 900 feet of fencing. We're probably thinking it's 4-foot high fence along the vast majority of this 1,360 foot length sidewalk extension. Other factors, Ayers Road. I think there was mention last time of possibly doing a pedestrian phase so people could push a button and walk across that intersection if we build this new sidewalk along there. If we were to do that, that's very expensive. Kwesi Brown is on our call. He's available, our traffic engineer available to address that. It's very expensive to do that. We'd have to redo a lot of the signalized intersection to do that phase. And then also, DOT requires in order to have that you have another, there's a sign right there now that says no pedestrian crossing. And that's because there's no sidewalk on either side of the Ayers Road, Sullivan Avenue intersection. There's no sidewalk near it. There's a sidewalk on the north side of Sullivan Avenue, but that goes way sort of inland away from Ayers Road as it goes out to Graham Road. So there's no sidewalk near there. In order for DOT to allow a pedestrian phase and for pedestrians to cross there safely, there would have to be a sidewalk not only on the Sullivan Avenue frontage, but also one on the other side. And then the question is, where does that go? It would go over to either existing sidewalk to the north on Sullivan Avenue or go to the east along Ayers Road and connect where the crosswalk is. There is no sidewalk to the east of Graham Road all the way to the South Windsor High School entrance drive. That's a huge gap in our sidewalk system in that area, serving people going to the park, the ball fields, the high school, the recreation department, and all those various businesses and homes to the west and north. Also of consideration is that at the end of the walk, the guide rail that the state installed as part of their improvements, they said that the grades are such that they need a guide rail. It goes another 250 feet along the Strawberry Fields frontage to its point of termination. So if we were to stop our sidewalk at our property line, you go another 250 feet before you can get out to the pavement of Sullivan Avenue. We're concerned about that. Also, we'd have to, of course, loam and seed the embankment and the shelf. Also, and there may be some other improvements associated with that. And where the sidewalk would end, we believe it's dangerous for pedestrians to scale the guide rail to get to the street along the 250 feet, or and then they'd walk in the street, which everybody I've talked to is not in favor of that, introducing pedestrians to that section, the 1 mile section of non-sidewalked Sullivan Avenue all the way down to Hartford Hospital from our site, just over 1 mile. And then, or they'd have to walk along Strawberry Fields frontage. And if you've seen from the pictures we presented to you, the Strawberry Fields frontage has some trees that we had designed previously when we did the Strawberry Fields development. We had evergreen trees that were planted along the frontage to protect those units that backed up to Sullivan Avenue. They're now substantial. They've been there 15, 20 years. They're beautiful. They actually have branches all the way from the ground up, and you'll have to maneuver around those. As for future sidewalks, again, it's over 1 mile down to Hartford Hospital. That's a major sidewalk project for the town to do. The abutters are not prepared to do that. We've already seen most of the land that's going to be developed along here: Strawberry Fields, Riverwalk, the Keith Yagloff's office, the daycare center, Mr. Manarino's salon, and then you have beyond that, you have the subdivision that RSK did. You have a couple of house lots. You have the Priest property, and they have some more house lots which may be redeveloped down by Hartford Hospital. I guess it's roughly 5 or 6. And then you have the Hartford Hospital. And then beyond that, it doesn't go anywhere. Hartford Hospital would have to be connected by sidewalk, probably down Community Road to the existing sidewalks on Ellington Road. So that's a major sidewalk improvement project. A lot of that would be incurred by the cost just because of frontage of the Priest property and Major Donnelly Land Preserve in terms of town cost. But I think that's a major project, maybe on an infrastructure program the feds have, something like that. But that needs to be done. And also one section, there's sections that are difficult. Along the Priest property drops off, so you have the issue that we have of steep slopes and grades and retaining walls, that type of thing potentially. And the other thing is between the late Charlotte and Sherman Collins property that's for sale right now, and the salon on Sullivan Avenue near Sand Hill Road, across from Sand Hill Road. It's a ravine there, and that would be a very serious challenge to engineer that. So we think that, and also a decision has to be made on which side of Sullivan Avenue it would be done. So leave it at that. We believe this will be among the most expensive, if not the most expensive, sidewalk section ever built in the town of South Windsor, given what we just described, retaining walls and the like, fencing. Our project has not budgeted for this large expense. And for these reasons, and also liability reasons for introducing the public at the end of our sidewalk down to Sullivan Avenue, into Sullivan Avenue at the end of it, we're concerned about liability, and therefore we are not in favor of doing this improvement. We think it's relatively dangerous. So we think you should consider, all you commissioners should consider that in your deliberations with respect to that. And one other point, we don't think anybody downstream from us, Strawberry Fields or anyone else, is budgeted for snow removal for a sidewalk or for repair and maintenance and eventual replacement down the path in any of those existing developments. With respect to affordable units, it was suggested by a couple of commissioners, I believe Chairman Pasakonis, and I believe Commissioner Dexter, I believe also mentioned that, may have been another commissioner. We're addressing the affordable units. And we had, there was no language in the regulations with respect to other than 10% affordable units at 80% of the median income for the Hartford area, which we're comfortable with. And we had suggested doing 125 units, that's 13 units, and we had suggested they all be studios. Although it isn't defined in the regulations, we happen to agree with the suggestion of Chairman Pasakonis, Commissioner Dexter, and others, and the town staff, that we consider doing 2 units instead of 13 units, dropped by 11, down to 2 units of studios, 7 units of 1-bedroom, and 4 units of 2-bedroom units. So that brings us up to the 13. So we're hitting the studio, the 1-bedroom, and the 2-bedroom, equivalent to what we're portraying. We're distributing those throughout our 125 units. So that's all I have, with the exception of just a parting comment, unless you have questions or there are other issues that arise. And that's it. We believe we have met the intent and the letter of the zoning regulations, your Sullivan Avenue mixed-use development regulation, as well as your other regulations that apply to this project. At this stage, which is zone change and general plan, which is not an engineered site plan, we believe we've met those standards. We believe we're consistent with the plan of conservation and development, and which is one reason why you adopted the zoning text amendment last year. And we think we meet your criteria for a zone change application, as we've outlined not only in Dr. Donald Poland's report, but also in our oral comments and of others. So that concludes our formal presentation, but the entire team is available should the commission have any questions for them, or if any other issues should arise during the balance of this hearing. And thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. At this time, we'll turn to our secretary for some input from the public. Could you read the letters, please? And upon the completion of letters, I'll turn to the public to see if there's anyone that wants to speak at that time. Okay, Commissioner Bonzani.
Thank you, Chairman. We do have probably 11, 12 letters, so we are going to go back and forth like last time. Okay, during the two planning and zoning comments, subject comments in Sullivan Ave Plaza zone change. During the recent 427 PZC hearing regarding the SAP rezoning request, several questions and comments were made regarding building sidewalks along Sullivan Ave that would allow people to safely walk to the major Donnelly Preserve. Mr. Donnelly explained all the reasons why it was not practical to construct a walk on the applicant's property. I understand and support his position. However, if he was forced to build the walk, it would only be usable if the walk was extended beyond the applicant's property along the roadway towards the preserve. A walk in this area would require removal of many mature evergreen trees as shown in the photos. These trees were installed as part of the buffer zone plantings approved by the town when the Strawberry Fields development was designed. These trees obscure the roadway from our view and help reduce noise traffic. Any tree removal would substantially impact these protections. I absolutely oppose a walk along the east edge of our property. Regards, James Greason, 1102 Zen Way.
This is from John Berman with Berman and Russo at 819 Clark Street. Dear Ms. Locke, I'm writing as a homeowner and business owner in South Windsor for over 25 years. My wife Myra and I strongly support the plan for the Sullivan Avenue Geisler's development project and site plan as submitted and designed by design professionals. We believe it will be an extremely attractive, highly desirable improvement to the community and particularly to this specific area, which I unfortunately have to drive by frequently. The town desperately needs an infusion of affordable but attractive residential living for young people and others trying to start a family and seek employment in South Windsor. And this project will bring a much needed infusion of tax revenue as well. Hopefully with that infusion of tax revenue resulting from this project and future mixed-use development projects, we will not need a town referendum for every vital infrastructure improvement in the future. The status quo is no longer acceptable. I strongly encourage the approval of the plan as submitted, and I hope it can proceed expeditiously. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, John Berman.
To planning and zoning comments, subject support for Geisler's and approved housing developments. Dear Mr. Pasiconis, I and my wife are longtime residents of South Windsor, and we look forward to the entire renovation referred to above. Thanks for the opportunity to express our support. Sincerely, Donna and Bill Maraza.
To the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, with regards to planning the new development at Geisler's Plaza, I would like the commission to ask the developer to consider more pedestrian access within the project and for connection ways along Sullivan Ave with future outlook to extend walkways to our town center, multi-use paths or wide walkways from the plaza area and along the south side of Sullivan Ave would increase property values and the health of our citizens. Allowing for these spaces as part of this project would help the development of future pedestrian connections along this street and to other parts of town. Thank you, Skip Bork, 91 Muriel Drive.
Ms. Michelle Light, Director of Planning, P&Z Commission members. Dear Director and Commission members, in a previous document, I expressed my hope that eventually we could extend a 10-foot multi-use path on Sullivan Avenue that currently passes Connecticut Valley Brewing Company, Mobis, and Vistar, and continue it past the Sullivan Avenue Plaza. As I previously mentioned, I am in favor of the proposed plaza zone change. Since it now appears that including a bike pedestrian path around the entire Sullivan Avenue Plaza cannot be included as part of this current plan project, I am writing to request that plans for the future be considered now. If the developer and appropriate town officials can meet and determine where a bike pedestrian path might eventually be located, and the developer can provide the required right-of-way for this path, and hopefully the bike pedestrian path can be built when funds eventually become available. This is a time for planning, not only for new apartments and a commercial shopping plaza, but also for the adjacent heavily used section of Sullivan Avenue that could eventually be expanded to provide safety for cars, bicycles, and pedestrians. Thank you. Respectfully, Kenneth Seck.
Dear Commission members, this letter follows our emails to the Commission dated April 6th, April 18th, and April 26th regarding the proposed zoning change for the Sullivan Ave Plaza. Those letters raised a variety of concerns with respect to the proposed apartment buildings, but our biggest objection is that the apartments are too big and too close to the well-established Strawberry Fields neighborhood. We watched the April 27th virtual meeting of the Commission, which continued the public hearing on the zone change, and appreciated that commissioners seemed to understand the perspectives of the many Strawberry Fields homeowners who sent letters. We were especially interested in Commission comments about the addition of dens in some apartments, as the additional room had not been included in prior plans. We understand that the petitioner will have an opportunity to respond to commissioners' questions about the dens at the May 11th, 2021 meeting, and wanted to raise a question in the interim. If the Commission concludes that the dens in apartments are inconsistent with the SAMUD text amendment and prior understandings of the Commission, wouldn't the elimination of the dens be an opportunity to downsize the buildings and at least modestly address the too big and too close concerns of Strawberry Fields homeowners? Thank you for your time and attention. Corrine and Wayne Sumple, 1004 Zenway.
Says Michelle, please include this email in the material presented when we open this hearing again. I wanted to share with you my concern about the Sullivan Avenue project and renovation and revitalization of the Geisler shopping area. My question is in relation to the issue that was raised almost at the end of last meeting regarding the addition of sidewalks along Sullivan Ave going towards Donnelly Park. I believe this is to be an unreasonable request for this project. With the deep slopes along Sullivan Ave bordering the property, it will result in a more than normal financial request for sidewalk construction in that area. The additional expense due to the steep slopes, no shoulder area along the road, and the landscape reconstruction needed would make it cost prohibitive. 2, where would the sidewalk go? There is no connection to any sidewalk on that side of Sullivan Ave going in that direction towards Donnelly Park. 3, there presently are sidewalks across the street, and with a new traffic light construction at the entrance, there will be push button controls for pedestrians to safely cross at that entrance intersection. 4, the added expense and construction of this lengthy stretch of real estate could prevent this project from moving forward. 5, the developers already are adding sidewalks going in the direction of Mexicali Grill, a connection to existing sidewalks. 6, there is no town plan for sidewalks to be added to that section of Sullivan Avenue, since there are sidewalks on the opposite side of the street. Why would we try to impose this new requirement on the developers? Asked to see the master plan for sidewalks in South Windsor. 7, since town staff did not mention this as a requirement in any of their reports, why should we add this to the project at this late date? 8, the developer has met, changed, and responded to all of the commission requests for project modifications, all of them. What is the purpose of adding this requirement to the project at this time, since it was never discussed at any other meeting? I hope you can agree with this assessment, oppose adding this new sidewalk as a requirement for this project. We have waited much too long for this plaza to be developed. It is unfair, unreasonable to simply tack on this new request. Thanks very much, Andy Paterno.
This next letter is from Strawberry Fields Neighborhood Association. We would like to share our thoughts following the April 27th P&Z hearing. And before you vote on this phase of the Sullivan Ave project, overall, we are not happy about the way this was communicated to us from the start by the developer. We were never shown buildings this big and this close. We were sold a misleading version of the impact on our community. Please help us as we work through this. Continue to look for any way possible to reduce the height and/or proximity of the nearest building. While it might be in compliance with the distance and height requirements, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, for the developer to meet Section 6.2 5-year and maturity requirements for the field of view and other impacts on our community. The buffer area as it exists is populated by dead and dying trees, choked by invasive vines. The ground is littered with debris that needs to be examined. It does not look like a normal forest floor. It needs extensive work. It is to be transformed, if it is to be transformed, into acceptable ground for new plantings. Whether or not the closest building is changed, an adequate buffer is something we have a right to expect under the regulations. We ask that you require the developer to consult with us on the buffer plan. We would also like to see work on the buffer precede construction. This will ensure that challenges are identified and addressed early in the process. It may allow for some of the new plantings to get an early start. It isn't just this closest building. Walking along the border of our properties, you can see that there will be many challenges, not only in regard to the field of view requirements, but also for the security of our private property. Our new neighbors may not understand that this includes our streets and woods. This is a legitimate concern expressed by many of our homeowners. By focusing on the above issues, we do not mean to take anything away from other concerns our homeowners expressed to you in what one commissioner called a stunning number of written comments. These issues range from traffic to concern about the upkeep of the new development. Anything you can do to address these issues is appreciated. For 2 decades, Strawberry Fields has proved itself to be a good neighbor to homes and businesses in the area and to the adjoining Major Donnelly Preserve. We take our role in the community seriously as taxpayers, voters, and volunteers. Anything you can do to reduce the anxieties all of our homeowners feel will be greatly appreciated. On behalf of the homeowners of Strawberry Fields, officers of the Strawberry Fields Neighborhood Association, Michael McMath, President, Elaine Anderson, Vice President, and John Hawkins, Secretary, James Greason, Treasurer. And then I have one last one in my packet, Frank, so.
I have one more.
It's regarding the proposed Sullivan Ave Plaza. Dear Commissioners, I respectfully request the Commissioners consider the following. Relocate some apartments closest to Strawberry Fields to other buildings, transpose the clubhouse and pool so the pool is further from Strawberry Fields, and erect a barrier to prohibit access to Strawberry Fields and reduce noise annoyances. Require trash containment that will prevent overspill, odors, and health issues. And this is from Dolores Masson, who lives at 901 Zenway.
And one last letter. Dear Commissioners, during the recent 427 PZC hearing regarding the SAP rezoning request, several questions and comments were made regarding building sidewalks along Sullivan Avenue that would allow to safely walk to the Major Donnelly Preserve. A sidewalk extended beyond the applicant's property along the roadway towards the preserve would require removal of many mature evergreen trees. I think it's the same letter that the other person wrote. These trees were installed as part of the buffer zone plannings approved for the town when the Strawberry Field development was redesigned. These trees obscure the roadway from our view and help reduce noise traffic. Any tree removal would substantially impact these protections. We absolutely oppose a sidewalk along the east edge of Strawberry Fields from the SAP to the Major Donnelly Preserve. Corrine and Wayne Sumpo, 1004 Zenway. I believe that's all the letters, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this application? Now would be the time. Do we have any? Okay, nobody requested to speak. Okay. Okay. Then at this time, I'll just touch base with staff. Our town planner, Michelle Light.
I have nothing further at this time, Chairman.
Okay, and I'll turn to our town engineer, Jeff Doolittle.
I have nothing further to add either, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, commissioners. Let's see where my list is. I'll start with Commissioner LeBlanc.
Mr. Chair. A lot of good points were brought up by Peter, certainly, and I'm mixed about the sidewalk thing. I just thought that, you know what, I've already been planning and zoning for quite some time as an alternate, and we've had talk about the town center, and this comes up every year since I moved here when I was 15 years old, but part of having a town center is having access to it. And I truly believe that whether it's on this side of the road or the other side of the road, that Sullivan Avenue needs sidewalks in some format. It may take a generation for it to be complete, but it's one of the downsides of living in South Windsor. It's odd, but most towns with major road thoroughfares have sidewalks on them. Manchester, Vernon, and the towns around us, Hartford, East Hartford. We have a town that carries 18,000 cars a day, and there's no sidewalks on it. It doesn't make much sense. We try to come across as a town that's environmentally friendly and have green space, and we're noted as a trail town. But I'm one of these people who walks, bikes, runs, I do all that. But you can't get across town because the roads are too crazy to do this stuff on. So I realize that these projects have come along over time, and we have little chunks of sidewalk all the way down. Like when we built the brewery, a few years ago, they have a piece of sidewalk that goes along the front of their property. And I'm thinking that the collective goal is to have continuity as time goes on. Sullivan Avenue will probably reinvent itself in the next 20 years. I'd like to think that the long-term goal is to get pedestrian use, getting to the so-called town center at the junction of Ellington, Buckland, and Sullivan Avenue. But you can't get there. And this is part of it. I mean, there were good points brought up by Peter. You can cross the road, and the use of crosswalks and things like that, and the flashing signal to get people from either side of Sullivan Avenue to the other. But I find it's important for the townspeople of South Windsor to use the town. You'll get yourself killed on a bicycle or whatever going down Sullivan Avenue. It's not pedestrian friendly at all. And it is the main road through town. And it should be pedestrian friendly. Enough of my rant, but I'm just trying to bring up a point, and I do find this very important for the townspeople. And it's the only comment I have regarding that. Peter, thank you for looking into the section for the trail back there.
Okay,
My pleasure.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I find it curious that we're making reference to a town center when we don't really have a town center. And we had a chance to have a town center, but the town voted it down. But that's revisionist history, so we need not go there right now. If the issue is sidewalks, I think that Mr. Donnelly made a series of very compelling arguments why this is problematic. I think they're reinforced in some of the letters. And in my mind's eye, I'm trying to envision what sidewalks down Sullivan Avenue would look like. And I'm not even sure what the purpose or value would be, in that I don't even think it would be aesthetically pleasing. I can't imagine taking a walk on a sidewalk down Sullivan Avenue any more than I would envision taking a walk on sidewalks down Route 5. So I'm not really a fan of it, considering all of the comments that have been made. I think when you weigh them out, I think the compelling way to go is probably not to have them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I guess I've been convinced all along with what Mr. Donnelly was saying about the infeasibility of putting sidewalks on that particular stretch. When that road was designed, it wasn't designed for sidewalks, and now we're paying the price. I think it is important, you know, and it's not a burden on this project, but there is a sidewalk, you know, again, it's not ideal, but you can cross at the entrance to the project to the other side. Sidewalk goes all the way over to Ayers Road. It ducks up along Ayers Road and then kind of ends halfway up Ayers Road before you get to Graham. I think the town has a committee that's looking at the master plan for sidewalks. And I think that plan ought to continue that plan for that sidewalk on that side of the road all the way down to town center. But again, that's not the burden of this project. I mean, I'm very pleased that they've at least been able to connect to Mexicali Grill from that side of their entrance. I'm also glad to hear that they're at least looking at making a trail connection. I understand there's a whole lot of issues associated with that, and it's not something that we could impose at this time. Now, I would like to see in your site plan a provision for a bus shelter along Sullivan Avenue, or I don't know whether buses are willing to come onto the private property, but some way for an eventual bus connection along Sullivan Avenue. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are no buses coming down that point right now, but with all the developments that are going in, I would think that we might be able to convince CT Transit to change their route. On the buffer issue, there was a drawing I tried to highlight at the last meeting, but we were kind of running out of time. But there's a drawing in the package that was shown to us now, I think 2 meetings back, and I'll hold it up just so everyone can see what I'm talking about. And it shows a cross section with strawberry fields on the left, on the right, and the development on the left, and the tall building, and you can see the issue that the residents have. But you can also say, well, Strawberry Fields is substantially lower, so there's actually a berm there that already provides part of the buffer. There was a comment in the letter about vines and everything in those trees. I think the applicant has already said that they're going to clear out those vines and all those invasive species. There's a group that's been doing the same thing behind Town Hall, and once it's done, it really looks great. But on the other hand, when you clean out all those vines and everything, it's going to make it easier to see through the trees, the deciduous trees. So we need to take advantage of the existing evergreens, and I think the applicant ought to consider putting up some sort of a fence that kind of takes the geometric line from the windows of Strawberry Fields up to at least the window height of that 3-story building, and makes those two invisible to each other. It's probably not reasonable to try to completely eliminate the gables and the roof and everything, but at least the sight line between the 2 sets of windows could be blocked by a fence if that makes sense to people. I guess that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Flagg.
Yeah, everybody's into the sidewalks and the apartments. I'm going to start down the other end. On the main building where Geisler's is, that whole project was built in 1965. That means that building is 56 years old. So I'm wondering, Peter, are they going to replace the sewer that goes through this project?
You want to do that? Ben Wheeler would like to say that.
Sorry about the feedback.
We still feedback.
Turn your volume down.
Can we wind down?
Yep.
Turn your microphone off, Peter.
Yeah.
There we go. That should be better. So yes, I would like to address that. So in our investigation on this project, we have found that the existing sewer is gravity fed from the rear of the Geisler's building out to Sullivan Avenue. Actually, and it has an existing sewer easement crossing through the property to the west where the Mexicali Grill is located. Our utility plan that we've submitted with this general plan does show that we will be replacing that sewer because of its age and also because it really is too flat and doesn't meet current design and engineering standards. So what we'll be doing, and again, it's shown on our utility plan, is there will be a new pump station installed near the southwest corner of the site, so behind Geisler's, that will pick up the sewer from the new apartment buildings and from the Geisler's building and pump that up to Sullivan Avenue in a new force main that stays entirely on this property and does not have to cross the adjacent property. So that has been evaluated, has not been completely designed yet, but that is the intent, and should this get approved at the site plan stage, that is what we will show for the sanitary sewer.
All right. How about the water pipes? Has anybody contacted the Connecticut Water Company and asked them about those water pipes? Because those are just as old. And right now they're doing Farnham Estates, which is about 15 years older than that, but they're still going to change the pipes in Farnham Estates. So with those water pipes being 56 years old, has anybody contacted Connecticut Water and asked them about that?
Yeah, we've had preliminary contacts with them. We'll have further discussions with them once we, if and when we do get into the site plan stage, when we get into more detailed engineering. But we haven't gotten into detailed discussions regarding the water service at this point.
Okay, now as far as the main building goes, are you going to be changing the air conditioning or heating system or any of the plumbing in that?
Yeah. I would like to defer that question to David Wagner. Is he on?
I'm here, Ben.
Oh, there you are, Dave. Okay, thank you.
The intent is when the new tenants come in, they're going to be doing their own heating and cooling systems as needed for their particular space. So the answer to the question is yes, for the most part, unless we get a special tenant situation where they're okay to use what's existing there right now.
Okay. What about the parking lot? The parking lot is torn up in an awful lot of places. There's water that gathers in puddles and stays there for quite a while. Are you going to tear up all that amosite and put new amosite down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, not completely designed yet because we haven't done fully engineered site plans at this stage, but you can see in our general plan that we're proposing a completely new layout, for that entire parking lot, including more extensive landscape islands, and it will require some regrading. So yes, all of the utilities, including the sanitary, the storm drainage, and the existing parking lot, that will all be reviewed and brought up to standards to match what the proposed development will entail as far as an upscale retail and residential development.
Okay. All right. Now I'll move on to the apartments. The third floor building A is the one that's closest to Strawberry Fields. Isn't that correct?
No, building A is the far left on the plan. That would be building D. we're going left to right, A, B, C, D.
Okay, building D. How high is it up off the ground when somebody is standing out on that third floor balcony in building D? Will they be able to look right across into Strawberry Field?
Again, with the discussions on the buffer, as we've mentioned before, the detailed buffer design, we're certainly open to suggestions, just like Mr. Wagner made regarding the fence. We haven't fully detailed that out yet, but we will be happy to take a look at that, at the site plan stage, should we get to that, to evaluate the view sheds, both to and from Strawberry Fields.
Okay. The distance between that building D and back into Strawberry Fields supposedly is 120 feet. In case people have a hard time figuring that out, the distance between two telephone poles is 100 feet. So most people know that distance. So that's pretty close. And I've looked at the woods through there, and it's all scraggly trees and everything else, and it's not good at all. I would like to see a good-sized berm put in there with a lot of trees on them all the way up to the top of the berm, something like you would see at Aldi's if you go by Aldi's. That's a very good berm. That to me would be a particularly good buffer between the two of them, and I think it might satisfy a lot of the residents in Strawberry Fields. The other question I had was, there's a retaining wall in the back on the corner of Building D. How high is that retaining wall?
It's approximately 8 feet tall at this point. Until we fully grade this out, can't say for certain, but based on our estimations at this point, that's how high it would be. And the reason for that retaining wall is because, as we mentioned last time in our testimony, Building D will be sunk down into the existing ground. And as Commissioner Wagner pointed out with the cross-section that's been submitted, the berm that you're talking about will basically already exist because the building will be sunk down into the ground. Then the grade will come up to the existing grade at the common property line with Strawberry Fields. And then it drops back down again to the finished floor elevations of the units at Strawberry Fields. So essentially that existing grade will obscure the first floor in between the two units, the Strawberry Fields condos and the proposed apartment building, Building D.
So what you're saying is if you were standing in Building D on the balcony, you wouldn't be able to see through. Is that correct?
On the first floor, that is correct. Yeah, because the natural grade in that area will again be up higher than the first floor of that building.
What about if you were on the second and third floor standing on a balcony there?
Well, that would be a pretty extensive berm. The natural berm will not be that high to obscure that. Again, the full details of the buffer plan, we are more than happy, and the applicant is more than happy to work with Strawberry Fields, to work with town staff. At the next stage, we're not required at this point to have a full buffer design in place. We will meet every intent of the regulations that are in place regarding buffer design. But that again will be covered at the next stage, at the site plan stage.
Okay. The last thing I have is the access and the entrance. Do you plan to have a separate access and entrance going up a flight of stairs or something to the traffic light that goes across to Ayers Road?
No, we do not. Just as we've presented with the problems with putting a sidewalk along Sullivan Avenue on our side of the street, the grades just aren't conducive to providing stairs access or any type of pedestrian access between this development and the corner of Ayers Road. The first floor of Building D, because as you're traveling from west to east along Sullivan Avenue, it rises up. The first floor for Building D will be about 30 feet below the elevation of the pavement at Sullivan Avenue at that point. So that's a pretty significant grade change to overcome to make that connection.
That sort of bothers me a little bit because the demographics show that there shouldn't be too many children in there, but demographics have a way of not proving themselves or lasting for about maybe 10 or 12 years, where buildings tend to last 40 and 50 years. And the demographics can change quite a bit. Also, with the dens being put in the one bedrooms, people are very resourceful. And if they have extra kids, they wouldn't have any problem, I'm pretty sure, about putting them in a den, even if there's no windows or closets in there. But it bothers me in that the schools are full right now. And if we get a big influx of children coming out of there over the years, that means we're going to have to put in more portables, and that costs quite a bit of money. Of course, that might not happen either. It might turn out where there isn't many kids in there at all. But I would like to see with the children, that means that they have to walk all the way down through Sullivan Avenue Plaza and out the main entrance that's there now, instead of having a stairwell that could go right up the top and they could cross over into Ayers by a traffic light up there. And I think they should be able to have that access. And that wouldn't be hard to do. That's not asking for a sidewalk up there, but it is a second access. And I think that should be another condition that should be put in there, is a second entrance and access to that. So that's my opinion on that. Other than that, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Dexter.
Well, I share some of the frustrations of Commissioner LeBlanc, some of the concerns of Commissioner Flagg about this zone change and whether this site is really appropriate to fit the requirements of the site. Not just sidewalks and all that's involved with that, but just I have a problem being held hostage, that we have to have apartments to do the right thing for this plaza. Other plazas in town thrive and are profitable without residential units. So I'm just not sure how I feel about the whole thing. I do, however, appreciate the applicant coming back with the right spread of affordable units. I thank you very much for that. That's doing the right thing. So that's all I have, Chairman.
Hey, and Commissioner Bonzani.
Yeah, I have a lot written here. Again, Commissioner Dexter and Commissioner Blank, I grew up in East Hartford, and I can remember walking from my house 3 miles to sidewalks all the way to Silver Lane. And Silver Lane is very comparable to Sullivan Ave, and walked all the way down to Charter Oak Plaza. And you know, and Mr. Donnelly himself said in the future, town of South Windsor might have a major sidewalk development plan going forth, and you have to start somewhere. And you know, I just feel sidewalks should be part of any development in town going forward. Sidewalks are important to get from A to B, And you know, and Peter, you know that you can put double wall. There's a lot of different ways you can, you know, make a sidewalk up there. That's you know, I'm in the business as you know, and I've done sidewalks many times with slopes, and you know, it can be done. A little expensive, but it can be done. That's how I feel. I just feel that you got to start somewhere, and if you don't start somewhere, then you can't keep going. And Peter, I don't know if you can remember this, but was there ever an estimate of how many school children would be out of this project? Did we ever get an estimate? Like I know in Evergreen Walk, they told us 5.5. I went back and looked, and there's 24 kids coming out of there. So you're talking over 5 times what they said. Did you guys ever give us an estimate of how many school children will be coming out of these apartments?
Yes. I'll turn it over to Mr. Don Poland, who included that information in his extensive report.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, the report I submitted, for the record, Don Poland, firm of Gilman, York, 1137 Main Street, East Hartford. The report I submitted related to municipal fiscal impacts and the presentation I gave at the prior hearings. We estimate, based on our calculations, using both the Rutgers multipliers and also current data out of recently built, newly constructed multifamily in your town, we are estimating a total of 14 enrollments out of this development, 9 of which we assume are new to district.
Thank you. So you're saying you're estimating 14. Did that include the dens when you was that when you were gonna have dens in there, or was that before the dens were included? Like a few of the other commissioners, dens, you know, they're really, child could sleep in a den, and you know I can see that happening more and more. But I wasn't sure how you guys had dens from the beginning, or you know, or added them, or added the dens after. You know, 1 bedroom is 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. Now you're adding dens. This makes for much bigger apartments.
So whenever I do these calculations, I always consider the dens. But the first thing I always do is look at the floor plans and the layouts and how the dens are going to be constructed. I'll be honest with you, I've dealt with units in Ellington where it is evident that dens are being used as additional bedrooms. However, if you look at the configuration of those units, they actually have doorways and doors and so forth and so on, and lend themselves to that. If I recall, the floor plans and layouts of these den areas are not conducive to kind of separation into their own sleeping units. So while I have made adjustments in the past based on configuration to overestimate for the dens, I did not do it for this development. If I were to do it and account for the small number of den units, I would say you'd probably get 1 or 2 more school-age children or enrollments out of this development. It's not going to substantially change it. We'd probably be looking at 16, maybe 17 total at most. So,
all right, thank you, Mr. Poland. So again, 17 more children into our school systems to have apartments, just like Commissioner Dexter say, you know, just to have apartments so we can revitalize Geisler's. 17 more kids in our school system is really going to put us over the edge. You know, exactly. I don't like Commissioner Dexter says. I don't know how I feel about this whole project, but we'll have to see how all the other commissioners and go forth. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. I'll get into what I've got. During his presentation tonight, Mr. Donnelly from Design Professionals talked about Strawberry Fields. And I was on the board when Strawberry Fields was approved. And I thought we should have sidewalks at that time. And I heard a lot of the same things I heard tonight. Oh, there's no sidewalks to the north. There's no sidewalks to the south. Well, like Commissioner Bonzani says, you have to start somewhere. Same thing with Riverwalk. I felt we should have sidewalks there, and their landscaping plan didn't provide room for it. You know, we try and put, or we see applications all the time putting 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag. And you've got school kids going here. Granted, there's going to be a bus, but when those kids miss the bus, they're going to take the shortest route to school. Their mom and dad already left for work, and they know they got to get to school. They're going to take the shortest way possible. I did it as a kid. And the shortest way possible is a direct line between 2 points. We need, as commissioners, we need to make it safe for people to walk in our walkable community. We've done a lot of things with sidewalks. And, you know, I'm hearing the applicant's going to be doing so much for sidewalks to the north of this project. The majority of that sidewalk's already in, up to their property line. So, you know, they're going to be putting sidewalk on their property, basically. And their responsibility is sidewalks on their frontage, period. Period. Granted, there's obstacles, but they need to be addressed, not just put aside. If you want apartments here, you need to do the infrastructure that goes along with it. Apartments mean kids walking around, and kids need to get to school. There's been a lot of good comment from members of the public, and I appreciate that. Mr. Donnelly talked about the path, like 3,000 feet to the north or whatever. That's steps that we made to move forward with having a walkable community. Just coming along and having an application doesn't mean we're not going to have you address what needs to be done. I want to see this plaza renovated, but it's also got to work. It's got to be safe. If you can't make it safe, then the apartment shouldn't go there. I had spoken about a conservation easement, possibly between Strawberry Fields and the Sullivan Avenue parcel. And having been to the site and walking back in the woods and getting the ticks on me and everything, and seeing the flag that the neighbors erected 120 plus feet away from their building, I'm under the belief that a conservation easement would, in the current woods, would not be beneficial. I really think that the buffer needs to be cleared all out, and if this project is approved, reestablished. And I did see the portrayals in the design package that we got, and I wish they were numbered so we could call them out and people could go to them. But I believe the 50-foot buffer and the property line drawing that was provided, and I do appreciate these, showing Strawberry Fields and the 36-unit building that Steve had tried to show when he was holding it up. That grading, I think, can be improved to go higher and have like a 10-foot or 15-foot plateau at the top, and the trees planted on top of that plateau. That would give them a much better start than what they would have if it was just done as designed. I see at the property line for Strawberry Fields, it shows it going up maybe a couple more feet, but I really think that it should go up like 6 more feet. Either that or possibly set the building lower, the 36-unit building lower. And I know you don't really want to do that because in some areas, the 3rd floor would be the same level as Sullivan Avenue. But we got to do whatever we can to minimize the impact to the people of Strawberry Fields. I appreciate the comments about the possible path to the Major Donnelly Preserve. And like I said, if approved, I look forward to seeing something in the future. Okay. Other than that, I've got nothing much more at this time. We do have another public hearing we got to get to. So I'd like to continue this public hearing one more time. Michelle, what do we got for a time frame? I think we're still within our 65 days for public hearing.
We started the public hearing. We would normally close it within 35 days and we'd get a 35-day extension if we needed to hold it longer. So we are still within that extension time, which under COVID for another week we have granted to us.
Do we have right now, when COVID expires, what happens with that extension? If you could be clearer on that.
We're probably, because we're in the middle of it, if we take advantage of the 90 days that we have under COVID right now, we could extend it to 35 days without an extension.
Okay, would the applicant be willing to do an extension?
If that's a pleasure of the commission, yes.
Okay. Michelle, would that be a 35-day extension?
Yeah, we would intend on putting it on May 25th. So the 35 days would cover us from the beginning to the planned ending of it. Yes.
Okay. Peter, did you do any cost estimates or anything for putting the sidewalk in there?
We were looking at some elements of that, but we don't have a total number. We know we're starting to look at those elements and they're very substantially high. We don't have a total number on that. And again, we're just looking at a cursory level of review of this. We haven't engineered it, but it's a substantial number.
Yeah.
To do, and that's in addition to what we're already doing, any retaining walls and grading and fencing and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to do a motion to, or for a commissioner to do a motion to extend the public hearing to our next regular meeting of the planning and zoning.
I'll make a motion that we extend the public hearing to our next meeting of May 25th.
Okay. It's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wagner?
I guess I think it ought to be very clear to this applicant exactly what we want them to address and what's already been addressed. So personally, I'd be happy to close the public hearing now. I think I have all the information I need to vote. So I'm going to vote against this, but in any case, I would suggest that those who vote in favor of continuing it make it very clear exactly what the applicant has to address, so we're not going through same old stuff.
I think it's clear that the applicant needs to address the sidewalk on Sullivan Avenue. So.
I mean, is that the only thing we want to hear about?
Are there any other open issues? I think the buffer and stuff can be worked out. If any other commissioners have any other issues, I'll turn to design professionals real quick. Is there the possibility of setting building D a little bit lower grade?
You want to take that? Ben will take that. Let me just go down.
I don't hear Ben taking that.
I guess, I would like to have, if we're going to have another discussion, I'd like to hear a review of the staircase proposal as an alternative to the sidewalk as well. The staircase to Ayers Road with a break in the, whatever is needed. So if we're going to continue, we're going to have that discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Okay. So we have a motion right now and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Let's do a roll call.
I'll do the roll call. Bonzani?
Put your microphone on, Frank. Okay. Say aye.
Commissioner Dexter?
Aye.
Commissioner LeBlanc? Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Wagner?
Nay.
Commissioner Flagg?
Aye.
And Chairman Pasconis.
Aye.
So it was 6-1.
Okay. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you in the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open where's my, sorry, I got so many papers out here. Our next, there it is. Oh, no, that's not it. I don't have my agenda in front of me. I apologize. We'll open our next public hearing for Evergreen Walk. Somebody could cite that.
At this time, we should be bringing in Karen Johnson should be coming in, John Plant, I believe David Gagnon, and Joe Aveni, I believe.
Good evening, everyone. This is Karen Johnson with Sharp Development. We also have John Plant, David Gagnon, and Joe Aveni. Can you hear me?
You're coming in very broken up. I don't know how you're coming in to the other commissioners, but
Yes.
Let me see if I can turn up my microphone a little bit. Is that any better?
maybe
Little
a little,
better.
but it seems
Little
like
better.
it's internet issues, not.
Could
not
I make a
volume.
suggestion? Sometimes the bandwidth on a call with everybody's video open slows everybody's bandwidth. So maybe if that might help.
If some of the applicants turn their video off until they're actually speaking.
Sure, we'll do that. That was John Plant from Langen Engineering, and we'll transition to him shortly.
You're sounding much better already.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members of the commission, we're here this evening to present our proposal for a modification of the master plan, general plan of development for Evergreen Walk. And we touched on some of these modifications briefly when we were discussing the proposed text amendment to reduce the separation distance between grocery stores. And now we're into the next level of this, which is to modify the general plan of development, which was originally approved in 2014 for Evergreen Walk. And we're looking at a realignment of Evergreen Way within Unit 2, removal of 2 existing buildings, which are 500B, C, and D at approximately 53,000 square feet, and the construction of a new building of a 40,000 square foot grocer and a 10,000 square foot retail space. We're also proposing some removal of trees along the Buckland Hemlock intersection. And so why don't I turn this over to David Gagnon now from Langen Engineering, who will go into some of the details on specifically what we're proposing on the realignment. John Plant will discuss some of the traffic-related issues related to the realignment. And then finally, Joe Aveni will talk about the overall general themes for landscaping and consistency on lighting. So I'll still be here, but just to make sure we're not having any connection issues, I'm going to turn off my video and turn it over to John now. John?
Thank you.
I think I'll get it started. And Michelle, just for the record, Dave Gagnon with Langen Engineering, civil engineer here, representing the applicant. And can you give me the ability to share my screen? I'd like to share the materials we put together.
If staff could do that, please.
Yep, it's yep. Okay, that coming in okay for everybody?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So just briefly, I wanted to give everyone an overview of the existing conditions of Evergreen Walk, then get into a little more detail on Unit 2, which is going to be the focus of our application, and then our proposed modification to the general plan of development. I think everyone's familiar with this site, but just briefly, I'll run everyone through it. It's known as Evergreen Walk Development. It's a mixed-use development and lifestyle center. It's in the Buckland Road Gateway Development Zone. To the north of the property, which is on the right-hand side of your page, is Deming Street. On the east side is Buckland Road. South of the property is Smith Street and some residential properties. And to the west is a mostly wooded area and a residential zone. As I mentioned, the focus of our application will be on Unit 2, which is in the southeast corner of Evergreen Walk, consists of roughly 48 acres. Zooming in on that area to discuss Unit 2, this is going to be the focus of our application. As you can see here highlighted in red, this is going to be our future proposed development area. So our proposed work will be limited to this area highlighted in red. And just to orient everyone, to the west of our property over here is the independent living complex, and to the north will be the Costco, which is recently approved and will be soon under development.
Excuse me, was this slideshow provided to us?
I believe there was a digital copy, and if you need a copy, I could, I'll gladly send this over. And this was also part of our initial text amendment application, so these shouldn't be any new information here.
Okay. Any presentation like this should be submitted to staff so they can forward it to us as the commissioners.
Yep, understood. I'll make sure you get a copy of this
Okay,
for your review.
thank you. And this public hearing will be kept open for a second public hearing. So please proceed. Thank you.
Okay, yep. Apologize for the confusion there. As I was mentioning, to the north of our property would be the Costco, and within our development area is the Old Navy, and there's a Japanese restaurant. There's two building pads here totaling 53,000 gross square feet. And then this would be our proposed general plan. Right here, Unit 2, this would be the limit of development we just discussed. What we're looking to do is to demolish those two buildings. So there's two buildings totaling 53,000 square feet, replacing it with one structure, which is 50,000 gross square feet. Within that structure, on the eastern side, on the bottom of your screen, would be a 40,000 square foot grocer, and to the west would be a 10,000 square foot retail building. The main parking field will be in front of the development. Loading will be in the back. And really, we had one of our main goals of this project was to complement and enhance the existing development. And we tried to do this through maintaining the general theme of Evergreen Walk and maintaining the continuity of Evergreen Walk. And we think we accomplished this from both visually, through our landscaping, lighting, site design, and through our proposed connectivity, which we'll go through in more detail. One thing we'll discuss is drastically improving, I think, pedestrian connectivity in and through the plaza, through a number of sidewalks. We'll get into that in more detail. And as Karen mentioned, one of the major kind of components of our product is we are taking Evergreen Way, which currently bisects this area, and we are taking it and rerouting it to the east, and then it'll kind of continue through to the north of our development area. Just a few things I'd like to highlight as part of our proposal. We are reducing impervious surfaces, which will be, from a stormwater perspective, we'll maintain the existing drainage patterns, incorporating a low impact design into our stormwater design. That'll include permeable pavers, a number of rain gardens wherever possible, in these kind of green spaces, which all these green spaces will be landscaped. And we're also introducing 3 water quality units. So really top of the line water quality, low impact design treatment. And of course, completely new lighting, landscaping to enhance the project. And with that, I'm going to keep presenting the screen, and John Plant is going to go through some of the site circulation from a vehicular and pedestrian standpoint.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening. My name is John Plant. I'm a professional engineer with Langen Engineering Environmental Services. I'm a managing principal in the firm, and I'd like to just talk to you about some of the connectivity aspects of this proposal. As Dave said, the current Evergreen Way bisects the existing parcel, which has a couple of different uses, but you'll also remember it used to have a grocer in there. And in talking with DOT, this is obviously has an OSTA CO, and talking with DOT, they asked us to look at this as a grocer, not just another retail part of the shopping center, which is different from the way the Highland Park was considered. So when looking at that, there is some slight increase in trip generation, but it's fairly nominal, and in reality, it probably mimics what was out there previously. So we looked at various configurations of this building to determine how best to site it on this unit, and still provide the connectivity, the safety that is the hallmark of Evergreen Walk, but also meeting the requirements of the tenant, and really trying to separate vehicular patterns and travel ways from parking areas, and the same for truck access and loading, to separate, to keep that truck access on dedicated roadways and access ways, that, you know, not having to go through parking lots to avoid those kind of conflicts. Again, making a safer plan than having it cut through a parking lot, or having that connectivity of Evergreen Way go through the front of a building where there's lots of pedestrians and all those potential conflicts. So what we've done here, and what you see in purple, are the vehicular connections, where today the Evergreen Walk goes north-south through the proposed retail building, and in between the 2 existing ones. We're shifting it to the east, up to that location where Dave's cursor is, and bringing it around the building, again separating that vehicular circulation from the parking activity, but still while maintaining that connectivity that's desired here. And the recognition that one of the goals of this master plan from day one was to relieve pressure on Buckland by providing vehicles alternate ways to travel north-south within this overall development plan, so they don't have to go back out to Buckland through a light, come back in some other location. And this plan continues that connectivity. It actually enhances it in some ways. You see here the East Access Drive, that East Access Drive, which comes in off of all the way to the south, it will now have a direct connection to that relocated Evergreen Way that connects up to the existing roadway adjacent to Costco. And this jog is something similar to what exists elsewhere just further north of Costco. So it's not unusual within this development plan. You know, it also provides, you know, slowing traffic down instead of straight shots, controlled at locations where there's pedestrian crossings, et cetera. So and you'll see here in blue are the existing and proposed sidewalk connectivity locations. Again, providing the ability to get to the front of the new building directly adjacent, from adjacent to the roundabout that connects to the rest of Evergreen Walk. So there are multiple opportunities to get to this facility from the rest of Evergreen Walk, as well as through over to the new residential area, completing a loop there, as well as connecting up to the sidewalk as it goes further up Tamarack. Again, how we'll accomplish this in the relocation, there'll be directional signage. There'll be a clear aesthetic that you recognize that this relocated Evergreen Way is a main thoroughfare connecting all aspects of this site. And we'll do that with materials, landscaping, signage, etc. Again, I think maintaining that goal of providing that connectivity on site versus out on Buckland. So we did see some comments from the town engineer today, and we did respond to those this afternoon. I know he was out at a commitment, but we responded to those, and I think many of them relating to traffic. And as part of the site plan process, we plan on having a full traffic impact study that evaluates the impact of this development and the changes that we're proposing. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to, to Joe Vini to talk a little bit about the landscaping. I'm certainly here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Vini. I'm a licensed landscape architect in the state of Connecticut with Langen Engineering, and thank you for having me tonight. So I just wanted to give a general overview on the planting and the lighting for the proposed site. Starting with planting, we really see this as a great opportunity to really complement the existing development and to maintain a planting theme that's really consistent with what we've seen as successful elsewhere throughout Evergreen Walk. We also see this as an opportunity to help screen that adjacent independent living to the west of the proposed development area by way of evergreen trees and shrubs, just like Dave is pointing out on the screen. All plantings we propose will be native drought and salt tolerant species. And then that's quick on planting, but moving over to lighting. Similar to the planting, the site lighting will really be designed to enhance and build on the existing character of Evergreen Walk. And that's going to be through the use of similar fixture types or the same fixture types and maintaining a similar hierarchy to what's already installed elsewhere throughout the development today. Site lighting will consist of primarily parking lot fixtures in the parking areas and then pedestrian scale post-op fixtures. Those will be installed at more of key nodes and pedestrian spaces, again, to add that pedestrian scale. Dave, if you want to go to the next slide. So the last area we really wanted to talk about was the improvements at the intersection of Hemlock Avenue and Buckland Road. And again, we really see this as a great chance to provide an even more positive entry experience into this overall development of Evergreen Walk. As shown in that sketch on the screen, we are proposing to introduce site elements such as post-op fixtures, low-growing native plantings to match the existing theme at entrances elsewhere on Buckland Road, and also a low stone wall which matches the aesthetic of the adjacent existing Evergreen Walk signage right at the bases. And there's an image that Dave is highlighting right now. This is among other improvements, such as removing some invasive vines that are growing on the evergreens at this entry. So please let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'm happy to provide any response.
Okay, we'll address questions after staff reports. So does that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then if we could free up the screen.
Sure.
And I will turn to our Director of Planning, Michelle White.
Thank you, Chairman. This is proposed changes to the general plan of development for the Evergreen Walk, including the realignment of Evergreen Way to accommodate a new 50,000 square foot retail building, replacing two buildings totaling 53,000 square feet on property located at 151 Buckland Road in the Buckland Road Gateway Development Zone. As the Commission's aware, we originally approved this general plan in 2001, most recently renewed in 2014 with several modifications over the years. The last time you saw it was with the Costco development, the addition of that. You have been provided the general plan. We would request that the applicant update some things on the chart on the general plan, including the completion of the daycare, the completion of the independent living facility and assisted living facilities, just to have current data on that general plan. We also look for clearer labeling on the general plan related to Evergreen Way as a street labeling. So this layout represents a significant change to the previous approved general plan, locating Evergreen Way on the eastern side of the new building, wrapping around it and connecting back up with Evergreen Way. They're showing a loading area to the rear of the building with a truck turnaround area to the west of the building. This area should be screened from the adjacent residential use at the time of any site plan application. The new traffic pattern will disrupt Evergreen Way, adding a jog to the road, so additional signage may be needed to clarify the road network. Additionally, the relocation of the road will impact the addressing for the VIP nail and spa building. It will now need to have an a street address off of Evergreen Way rather than Hemlock. Staff had an on-site meeting with the applicant and the representatives to discuss some alternatives to the road pattern. One suggestion was to line up a new Evergreen Way on the north of the proposed building with a new access drive heading into Costco to create a four-way intersection. This would eliminate the sharp turn behind the building, provide more space between the building and the roadway. Additionally, the Fire Marshal's office had requested review of turning radius in and around the site to make sure fire trucks and other trucks have adequate room to maneuver safely. Of particular concern was the western parking area and the ability to get around the entire building. We also requested an evaluation of the east access drive and the Hemlock four-way intersection for sightlines and safety with the increased traffic. The sidewalk network is being extended around the perimeter of the new development, keeping walkability throughout the site and adding crosswalks as necessary. At the time of site plan application, we'd anticipate traffic and calming and or aesthetic treatments to some of these crossings proposed. Utility impacts are significant as they will be relocating the utilities that currently exist in Evergreen Way to accommodate the new building. Adequate public water and sewers are available in the area, and detailed designs will be reviewed at the time of site plan approval. Developers currently working with utility companies to finalize these relocations. Other changes being proposed include modifying the landscaping at the Hemlock entrance through the removal of some trees and landscape enhancements of the existing signage. I think you just had reviewed that with the landscape architect a few minutes ago. At the time of the application, we do not have any architectural drawings. They would be submitted at the time of site plan. Prior to any actual building or site construction, the site plan request would need approval from Design Review Committee, as well as the Inland Wetlands Agency and the Planning and Zoning Water Pollution Control Authority. If this general plan is approved, we request the data table to be updated, labeling of Evergreen Walk on the general plan, and also at the time of the site plan application, we'd be looking for the updated signage so the road names are clearly identified on site, some wayfinding signage, and specific attention given in designing the landscaping and screening in the western parking lot and truck loading area to provide visual screening to the residents in the independent living in Evergreen Crossing. All other conditions of the 2014 general plan approval would remain in effect as well. That concludes planning comments.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll turn to our town engineer, Jeff Doolittle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of my comments are going to sound similar to Michelle's comments, but we share those comments. And these were shared with the applicant. They're kind of broken down into two categories. One are impacts on the site within Evergreen Walk. Obviously, this new development will impact Evergreen Walk. And there will be some impacts, we believe, off-site, specifically on Buckland Road. So I'll start with the on-site impacts. As Michelle said, the proposed relocation of Evergreen Way needs to be clearly shown and will need to be well signed, as it is a significant change from what is there now. So we want to make sure people find their way around. The traffic impacts of this new change also will need to be shown and evaluated more fully. For example, I have concerns about the intersection of the East Access Drive and Hemlock Avenue and how that will handle the increase in traffic and turning movements that come with this new development. I think that intersection may need to be modified a little bit more than is shown on the current general plan. You'll notice the northbound lane coming out of the roundabout on Hemlock at Evergreen Way is now just a single ramp into the parking area. I had inquired about whether that could remain as an access to this site. The applicant addressed that. We questioned how trucks will navigate this site. They did provide turning templates for both trucks and fire trucks. We are reviewing those. And based on the initial review, they will need to make some adjustments to the intersections and the radius in some of those areas. As Michelle said, at the northern side of the new building, Evergreen Way will make a sharp right turn. And we asked if they could look at lining that up with the access way to Costco and Evergreen Crossing. So that would be easier to negotiate. The utility impacts will be significant with this change. We'd like to see what those are, at least in concept plan. I believe they've started looking at the utility impacts so that we know that they can be accommodated. The grading impacts will also be there. There are going to be some grading impacts between the existing parking lots to the south of this proposed development and what they're proposing. So I think that needs to be shown. The western access drive around the proposed building would be different from what is around the existing building. And it's a little more indirect. So I believe that needs to be clarified and will need to be well signed and marked. And those are the on-site impacts. Off-site, the traffic memo states that the development will increase peak hour traffic weekday evenings and Saturdays on Buckland Road, but does not state any impacts from this increase in traffic. So that needs to be looked at more closely, specifically with regard to turning movements, level of service, and queue lengths on Buckland Road. They did include the trip generation rates in the traffic study for Costco, which did account for some traffic going into their development on using Hemlock Avenue. The traffic study for Costco also stated that a right turn lane on Buckland Road southbound at Hemlock should be constructed because of lack of available capacity for the traffic volumes. That is not being done as part of the Costco development, but it needs to be looked at as part of this development. They did mention the stormwater. There'll be no increase in stormwater from this new development. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we've got some other business we've got to finish up. It's been a long night. I'd like to continue this public hearing to our next regular scheduled meeting for May. If someone would make a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate to ask if there are any significant issues that the commission members would like to raise this evening that we could address prior to the continued hearing?
Yeah, I understand your concern. I'll just throw out there, I'm not crazy about the relocating of Evergreen Way. I think I made that clear when you came previously. I think this totally messes up the north to south and south to north continuity of the traffic pattern. But I don't see you making any accommodations for that. Commissioners, is there anything quick that you'd like to throw out to the applicant before we continue the public hearing?
I'd like some very clear drawings on Evergreen Way and the way that they're gonna have it done. And also, this is gonna be a very high impact traffic area because with all of the business that LA Fitness does and Costco's gonna do, and also this very popular grocery store is gonna do, it's gonna generate an awful lot of traffic, and people need to know where they're going, how to get there, and maybe even widening the roads or something like that. So I'd like that looked into and clear-cut drawings brought to us.
But I have to agree. Just looking at the aerial what you showed on the screen there, I can't help but think of the plaza where Starbucks is in our neighboring town. You can get in, but you can't get out. It looks, just look at the front parking of this store. It looks almost troublesome to get in and out of there. But that's me looking at it playing on a small tablet here. But bigger drawings would certainly help. But it does look a little complicated getting in and out of there. And I agree that with the link to the fitness center and certainly Costco neighboring to the north, it looks like a tough route to travel between the two areas.
I think that's a good analogy, Michael, because this is very similar to that Manchester development.
Well, I stop and get coffee there in the morning. I just can't seem to get out of there, but that's me.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, if you don't mind, waiting to be recognized. Yeah. You know, there was a nice functioning roundabout there now, and I get the feeling that whole little area with, and I think Mr. Doolittle mentioned this too, that whole little traffic pattern coming out on Evergreen Way needs to be looked at again. Maybe you move the roundabout, move some of that parking in there. I don't know, but it just strikes me as a confusing thing for anybody trying to get around in there. And then the way the roundabout feeds into the parking lot, I think kind of looks weird to me. And then there was a drawing that showed pedestrian routes. You don't have to bring it up, but it wasn't clear to me that there was an easy way for pedestrians in the Evergreen crossing to get up to the grocery store. And that ought to be like a 3-second walk for them. So let's make sure there's a crosswalk or some way for them to get to the grocery store without going all the way around the back, which is kind of what I saw in that drawing, but maybe that wasn't the intention. So that would be, and then there's the back entrance to Costco is also like their alternate truck route. When they can't, you know, if Tamarack Avenue gets closed off over by Deming. So let's make sure that's still going to work. I think it still works because they just come out of there, come around and out Cedar Lane, but just want to make sure they review that.
Thank you, Steve. And anyone else?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. It's Frank. The way I look at it, like Commissioner Flagg said, it's a little confusing. We need a better picture or design of what's really happening. So you're bringing people in from Buckland to right next to Panera's, and then they're taking a right to go to Costco, and that's going to be is that going to be a stop sign? Because you took out a rotary there. There's not a lot of room between that stop sign and Buckland. If a tractor trailer's there, it's going to back up awful fast right into Buckland. As far as I go to Panera's all the time, and that's not a lot of room there. If a tractor trailer goes down there, you got cars trying to come in, cars take it. I don't know why you shouldn't put a rotary there unless it's not feasible, but I don't like this design. I think it's going to be personally a nightmare to come out from Buckland, going down there and taking a right. Everybody going to Costco, everybody going that way. I just don't like the design, but again, we'll have to see a little better, maybe with a better picture or better view. Thanks. I know we got to get going quick. Sorry.
No, I appreciate your input. Any other commissioners want to chime in? Commissioner Flagg or Commissioner Dexter?
No, I think they have their homework.
Okay. Okay. You've got some direction there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the extra few minutes. It'll help us prep for the next meeting.
Okay, great. So commissioners, do we have a motion to extend? Did we, well, we're under discussion, correct?
I think we already have a motion and a second, and or do we?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we extend the meeting, the public hearing, to our next scheduled meeting for the Evergreen Walk. I'm like you, Bart.
Next regular meeting, which I believe is May 25th.
Application 21-20 Evergreen Walk Lifestyle. Yep, the May 25th.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. So many pages here. Okay, we're gonna go back to our, not that one, our distinctive tree. Well, first off, I have to go back through the normal order of business of reopening the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning for May 11th, 2021. And I'll give the public a chance to speak. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on something that is not on our agenda tonight? Please speak up now. Is there anybody? Okay, great. Then we're moving back to distinctive tree, application 21-13P, I believe. Is our applicant still there for that?
Yes, we're here.
Welcome back.
Thank you for taking it. Thank you for allowing us to be heard again. Yes.
Okay. Where were we at with this, people? You had presented, we had gone, and staff had made their comments. And I believe the next business was hearing from commissioners.
Yes.
So I'll start with Commissioner Bonzani.
Okay, I almost forgot where we're at. No, I got no problems with another local great company expanding. I know Distinctive very well. I know a lot of people that work for them, and you know, it's an industrial zone there. So nope, I'm all for it, I believe.
Okay, Commissioner Dexter.
No additional comments, just reading through the approval modifications. Everything that town staff had asked for is in there, so I'm good.
Okay, Commissioner Flagg.
I had one question. When you make an entrance to your property, it's like going over a corduroy bridge. Is that because part of the wetlands go flowing through there and you've got all of those boards there? And are you going to fix that and put a permanent bridge over that or something else than what you've got?
Yes, Commissioner Flagg. The plan is to put a concrete pad in that area to smooth it out and redo that driveway. So it won't be as bumpy as it is now. Yeah, there's like timber piles there now that will be removed and replaced with a concrete pad at that area.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you very much.
No problem, Mr. Flack.
Hey, Commissioner Wagner.
I have no additional comments. Appreciate all the work that this company has done for our family. Every time there's a hurricane or a tree branch, it comes down. But yeah, I'm happy with what they got here.
Okay, Commissioner Bernstein.
No questions or comments from me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner LeBlanc, but first, I'd appreciate if somebody could make a motion to extend the meeting past 9:30, and we'll try and keep it as brief as possible.
I move we extend the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Commissioner LeBlanc.
Yeah, thank you. You know what? A lot of thought went into this project, and I think it's great for the company, and I could see them expand. I don't have any comments or questions regarding it, and this is pretty well laid out, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, I just had a question about parking at the new 7,200 square foot building behind the building that's currently being completed. And
Yes,
I just want to say, I think that's a handsome looking building you got going there. So my understanding is you've got 38 spaces around the building that's currently under construction. You're providing another, I think, 12 spaces on the phase 3 building. Is that correct?
Correct. That's phase 3. Yes, correct.
That's right.
Okay, but you're not providing any parking spaces around the 7,200 square foot building.
That building, and Jason could talk to the usage or proposed use for that building, but is anticipated to be used just for storage. So Jason, would you like to elaborate on the use of the 7,200 square foot building?
So that, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that building is primarily going to be for taking some of the outside storage and providing inside storage for our bucket truck crews. And on the entire north side of the property is adequate parking for all of our equipment. And very often we'll never need 50 spots because majority of our crews report directly out to their jobs, whether it's from municipalities or the state or Eversource. So I think we have plenty of parking already and then designed.
Okay, and now on the proposed built phase 3,
yes, sir.
You're saying 12 of those spaces. How many spaces do you have on phase 3 right now?
What's that plan?
It's 41 total in that area.
41 total.
Yeah,
So
there's a lower lot.
Okay.
41
so
total
12
for
of
the
those
lower
will
lot.
be
12 of those will be for lot for 595.
dedicated. Okay. Okay,
Yep.
good. All right. Okay, I'm not gonna belabor that. Could I just ask, you
Yes,
know,
Mr. Chair.
the timbers that you drove over, what was that just working to keep the mud off the tires or what? What was the purpose of having those timbers?
So what happened is when we started it, we put a gate in immediately and the gate needs access control. So we dug that area out in anticipation of pouring a nice concrete pad with access control with, I guess, hidden sensors in that concrete. Well, because progress is going faster than, well, progress in the building is going faster than I wanted. We want to redo that road. So that's why we kind of left that riprap timber has bothered me ever all along, but I think we have to get all the construction done. Then we're gonna do the concrete in the next month or so and do that access control.
Okay, Jason, just for the record, could you just state your name, please?
Jason Yerke.
Okay. And just spell the last name, just to...
Yerke.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none. A motion would be in order for application 21-13P, which is the 7,200 square foot building behind.
I'll make a motion if you'd like.
Sure.
I move we approve application 2113P distinctive tree phase 2 at 595 Nutmeg Road. All standard conditions here, conditions 1 through 12. Condition 3, this application is subject to the conditions of approval of the Inland Wetlands Agency Conservation Commission, including bonds in the amount of $5,000 to ensure compliance with erosion and sediment control measures, and $10,000 to ensure establishment of a stormwater system, and $5,000 to ensure proper installation, follow-up, inspection, and maintenance of mitigation measures. In condition 4, a landscape bond in the amount of $5,000 is required and must be submitted prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy if work is not completed. And then there's 3 additional special conditions. 13, all easements and meets and bounds shall be shown in the site plan. 14, a cross-travel easement is required between lot 1 and lots 2. 15, engineering comments dated May 6, 2021 must be incorporated into the final plans. And did I read number 15? Is that right? Meets and bounds?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. It's
Not sure what
a different way of surveying nowadays.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? I just had one. With our new regulations for charging station, did the applicant address anything?
This application was submitted prior to the adoption of the regulation. Your regulation became effective May 8th.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you
now
so much, Mr.
have-
Hiller.
You have application 21-14P, which is phase 3.
Yes, sir.
Do you have additional presentation from what you already presented earlier?
No, just one thing to point out. I mean, the original approval was for a 8,000 square foot building, and the building that we're now proposing is about 4,600 square feet. So we are proposing a building that is smaller than the original proposed building back at the 2014 application phase. So just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay. Michelle, do you have a staff report for application 21-14P?
Yeah, I did send it out with the agenda. Just briefly, I just would note that this building has a 1,000 square foot office, and the remainder of the building has potential to be used as manufacturing warehouse. I think the applicant's intent is to use it for training, and that is one of the reasons why I think we have the parking shown on that, because they do have an excessive parking that's more than that required. It does meet all the zoning requirements as far as coverage ratios, setbacks. We would be looking for the cross-travel easement between lots 1 and 2, similar to the other approval. This applicant did go in front of design review. They reviewed the metal. It's a metal building similar to other metal buildings done by Tim Starr. It did be reviewed. It did show a outdoor storage area in the front of the building, and they've indicated that nothing stored there would be any higher than the fencing. They do have a full landscape plan, lighting plan, and conformance to the regulations. Design review is satisfied with the application as presented. This will require WPCA approval, and the fire marshal has reviewed it, has no specific comments on the application.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll turn to our town engineer, Jeff Doolittle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to kind of follow up with Michelle's comments, there are sewer easements for both buildings that need to be filed. They're access easements with access and inspection manholes out by Nutmeg Road. There's a sidewalk with integral curb along the driveway between this building and the building at 595. That should be at least 5 feet wide, so that because it has integral curb, it's right up against the curb. The dumpster pad should pitch out to the driveway. There are excess parking spaces on this lot, and they have said that's for their employees. And then the landscape plan shows some plants, again, around a monitoring manhole out by Nutmeg Road. I asked that those plants be removed from the sewer easement around this manhole. And that's all my comments.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll turn to commissioners. Let's go with Commissioner Bonzani. Anything?
Oh, yeah, nothing. Site looks good.
Okay. Commissioner Dexter?
No additional comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Flagg?
No additional comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner?
No additional comments.
Commissioner Bernstein?
I'm good to go. Thank you.
And Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yeah, no additional comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just had one question. I see a lot of, so some employees are going to be expected to park over at the Phase 3 building and walk around to the main building, which is Phase 1, correct?
Yes, potentially.
Okay. And I did visit the current site, and I did see a lot of vehicles parked there, and I believe on the adjoining property possibly.
Maybe, yes.
Okay. And I understand you probably got enough parking, but it just seems a little bit strange if these two lots ever get separated, like Phase 3 gets sold off, because they are two separate lots with cross travel easements. At that point, I don't know if you would meet your parking requirement, but I just want to bring that up. I don't think it's your intention to sell off one phase or another. You're planning on utilizing this in perpetuity, correct?
As long as I'm here.
Okay, great. Okay, I've got no further questions. Commissioners, anything else? If not, a motion would be in order.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move we approve distinctive tree Phase 3, 591 Nutmeg Road, application 21-14P. Again, standard conditions 1 through 12. Condition 3, this application is subject to the conditions of approval of the Inland Wetlands Agency Conservation Commission, including bonds in the amount of $5,000 to ensure compliance with the erosion and sediment control measures, and $10,000 to ensure establishment of stormwater system, $5,000 to ensure proper installation, follow-up, inspection, and maintenance of mitigation measures. Condition 4, a landscape bond in the amount of $5,000 is required and must be submitted prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy if work is not completed. And then Condition 13, all easements with meets and bounds shall be shown on the site plan. Condition 14, cross-travel easement is required between Lot 1 and Lot 2. Condition 15, engineering comments dated May 6, 2021 must be incorporated into the final plans.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, members of the commission, for staying with late as well. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
You all
Thank
have
you,
a great
everybody.
evening.
Okay, I'll turn to Michelle. Michelle, we got anything really important or anything you want to mention before we go?
No, you don't have any bonds, and the only other thing is minutes, if you can defer those to the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so a motion to adjourn would be in order?
Did we do Bayer Brothers? Did we finish them?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we voted on that during the first.
10 hours ago. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All right.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We're
What do we mean in
adjourned.
person?
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
What
night.
do we mean in person?
Aye.
25th, the 25th,
25th.
Really?
25th.
as far as I know.
Okay,
Perfect.
that's good.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Right.
Stay tuned. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.